Alrighty, guys, so we have Nations League on Thursday. I was going to do a preview for it, guys, but to be honest with you, with Nations League, like,
we don't care.
it's just hard to even know what's going to happen. We don't know the lineups. We don't know who's in the game. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a reaction video for those games. There's a first leg on Thursday. There's a second leg on Sunday. So we will be watching that stuff. I just said, you know what? I really want to upload today, and I want to do something different that we haven't done on this channel. We've reacted to unpopular takes, but basically I went on Twitter today and I said, look, send me a football take that you have that's like reactionary, something, but not in a way that's just, it's a stupid take, something that you recently felt like, okay, I've seen this, I've seen the light on this is what I think. So I'm gonna go through, react to a couple today. Guys, let me know what you disagree with, let me know what you agree with, let me know who's crazy, you know, who's smoking a Zaza with their takes. I'll be sure to say if I feel that way. And if you guys enjoy this, drop a thumbs up. The last video we did reacting to, I think it was unpopular takes, that video got, I think, a ton of thumbs up. So that's why we're going to do another one. I told you guys I was trying to do 1 or 2 of these a week. I have been watching more football recently than I know what to do with. I don't know where I'm finding the time to do it, but I'm finding the time. So hopefully you guys enjoy this one, and we're going to get right into it. All right, so this is a recent take that we have. Bruno hate is way too forced, and he's actually a legit baller. If City did actually manage to sign him, Stockport Bocan would still be riding the bench, and KDB would have been moved on quicker. Man, is that a super crazy take? I don't really know if that's a crazy take. I mean, for me personally, like with Bruno, I've always been a little frustrated because some games I watch Bruno, I don't understand what he's doing. I've kind of seen the light a lot more with Bruno recently as well, so I would have to agree with him. I think personally, Bruno, if we saw Bruno in any other team in the world, I don't think it's a terrible take to say something like that. KDB for me has not been the same for a season now. I don't know if the second part of this take I would agree with the move on quicker, because I think KDB at the end of the day, no matter what, if we put KDB and Bruno in that City team, I don't personally think Bruno would have accomplished what KDB has done for that club and what we've seen from him, the output. I just don't think so. It's no slight to Bruno. I still would put KDB in terms of the ceiling a bit higher. But I think Bruno, for me, with who he's been playing with, how he's been playing over the years, United fans are very lucky that he has stayed there, because if we saw this Bruno guy in pretty much any other team, I mean, we're talking like serious contending Champions League level teams, I think we would see him shine a little bit more than we have seen him. I mean, he's got the capabilities to just be absolutely great, and we've seen it recently time and time again, so I don't necessarily disagree with this one. I think that's fine. All right, this one has 20 favorites after like 3 minutes of me posting this. Darwin Nunez doesn't belong in a top 5 league. So he doesn't belong in Germany. He doesn't belong in England. He doesn't belong in Spain. He doesn't belong in, why am I blanking? Italy. He doesn't belong in France. I disagree with this. I understand, though, man. Darwin is not making it easy for himself, bro. I don't know how many years we're going to have to give this guy, but definitely Darwin has not fulfilled what we've been wanting to see from him. There's moments, but then there's the other moments, and there's the weeks where he plays so shocking you can't understand it. Guys, I would say generally I think this is a little harsh. Even though Darwin is Darwin, I think if you were to put together how many teams are in the top 5 leagues, like we're talking like what? 100 teams, something like that. I mean, I just feel like there's a general really lack of decent strikers in the world right now. So I feel like if we were to say this maybe back in 2010, when we had Torres and we had Falcao and we had all these crazy players, right? Whatever you want to say, I think this could be a little bit more valid. But I think right now, I'm not sure about that. You know, Drogba, you go back to that era, you had so many good strikers playing at that time. I don't know. Okay, this is from Tanner. Liverpool season is a major success, being downplayed and hated on for no apparent reason. Also, Mo Salah dropping out of the first for Ballon d'Or odds for 2 bad weeks is so much recency bias, it's crazy. If Vinny or Rafinha was having this season, they would still be number 1. Okay, it's not that Liverpool season is not a success. Liverpool season is obviously a success. You win the Premier League, it's a success, right? The standards we hold this club to, because they have been so great for a bit now, they've been very dominant, and the standards we hold Salah to, because if you're gonna win the Ballon d'Or, you have to be a huge, let's say, propellant for the team to stay in the competitions and to keep fighting. And I felt like in the last couple games he's been terrible. And look, they're looking for the guy to step it up because the attack is woeful and he hasn't done anything. So I think for me, the recency in Salah dropping from first to, let's say, second or third, it's understandably, if you're a Liverpool fan, frustrating. But I even said it the other day, the problem now for Salah is that the path to him winning the award, the Ballon d'Or rankings, right? I think the award is stupid, but a lot of the award is how much does the player contribute to a major trophy, right? So you look at it, Salah's obviously a huge reason why they're going to win the Prem. His output this season, if Salah didn't do what he's done this season, Liverpool would not be winning the Prem. We've seen it, right? Their team is good, but they're not great. They're a good team if you go all time versus all the other Prem winners, right? But when you look at it objectively with these other teams, let's say Real Madrid and Barca, for example, who already have the advantage in a Ballon d'Or scenario, right? We've seen the year where Messi won the Ballon d'Or over VVD, right? We've already seen it, right? Liverpool had all the win that season, right? And what happens, right? So when we look at this like this, Rafinha is about to catch up to potentially Cristiano Ronaldo's Champions League record. I don't think Vinny's, Vinny in that conversation, but we even look at Mbappe. If Mbappe, let's say, goes ahead, scores 6 to 8 goals and contributes to Real Madrid winning a Champions League, it's a different story. I think we look at the Ballon d'Or. I mean, obviously winning is a really big part of it now, right? Rodri wins the Euro. Rodri gets the award. Man City didn't win the Champions League. So for me, in the recent couple of years, a lot of the time, whoever is contributing to the most important trophy for that season ends up winning the Ballon d'Or. And that's why I think it makes sense, to be honest, that Salah has dropped down, because it's one thing if Salah scored 4 or 5 knockout goals, right? And even when they got knocked out of the cup or the cup final, and he was a big reason, like he had 2 goals and they lost 3-2, that's one story. But when Salah has been ghosting the way he's been ghosting, I think personally this one makes sense. It is harsh, man, but football is very harsh. I don't think it's out of this equation that makes sense. This guy says football is nowhere near as entertaining as it used to be. Even 4 to 5 years ago, it was a totally different sport for entertainment. Now it's just mind-numbing tactics with 0 individual skill. All right, so that's obviously extreme to say no individual skill, but I think it's fair to say that the talents overall in football, I mean, thank God for Yamal, right? Thank God for Mbappe, but the talents that are emerging, yes, there is talent, but we see way less of that crazy flair. I think that's why everyone's so crazy about this guy on PSG, Desiree Doué. I can't say his name. But everyone's crazy about him because he's got that flair that we used to see out of a ton of players. We used to see that, like, okay, a lot of players are balling like this, and it's definitely more rare these days. I don't know what's the reason for all this, but I don't disagree with this. The top comment even says, I just think players like Neymar, Douglas Costa, Alexis Hazard are hard to come by now. It's all about efficiency. It is all about efficiency. We don't see players playing with as much freedom as we used to, and that is 100% a fair take to say. Okay, this is a good take, like an interesting one to just talk about and break down. Real Madrid and Barcelona are going to be the only teams to win the Champions League until 2032. So this guy thinks that these are going to be the only 2 teams to win for the next 7 Champions Leagues. That's a bold statement, but when you break it down and you look at it, you look at the Real Madrid squad, they're kind of low-key this season. Yes, they brought in, Mbappe and Judas here from last season. They're low-key doing a rebuild too, because they just ended that whole era where, you had Benzema, you had, let's just say, prime Modric, because Modric is going to be out in probably 2 seasons, but he's not at his peak anymore. He's still very good. You had Toni Kroos, which I thought was the reason they won the competition last year. You look at this Real Madrid team, yeah, they're very young, to be honest, so that is not a bad take. I think Real Madrid are probably only getting better from here. The whole question mark with Real Madrid is that, are the superstars ever going to get in each other's way? Because a lot of times we look at any superstar teams, we look at like Salah and Mane, right? They can only play, it feels like, for a certain amount of time before something happens, before there's some inherent animosity that happens in the team. So whether that breaks up at some point, I still look at this team, though, if they can keep 3 out of 4 with, let's say, Vinny, Mbappe, and Jude, and Rodrigo, if they can keep 3 out of 4, I don't really care because they're just going to be insane. So that's not a bad take with Real. And then you look at Barcelona. I mean, do we even need to talk? The question mark for Barcelona is going to be when Lewandowski sees his day. That's going to be their question mark. If you take Lewandowski out of that team, most of this team is very young, right? So even Barca's even younger than Real Madrid. And I've been saying Barca as is this season is my favorite to win the Champions League. They just play amazing. Like, they just play the best football right now out of any team. So this take is not bad. The only team that I look at the Premier League, I look at all these other leagues. Only team that I would be slightly worried about skipping out on in this statement is PSG. PSG are also extremely talented and filled with young talent. And let's say what's not young talent? What's like mid-tier young talent, right? Not calling them mid, but like Kvaratskhelia, it's more of Mbappe, right? Like, they're similar in that range, where then you have Real Madrid has Endrick, and they have Arda Güler, who's not even getting in the games, right? You have that, like, younger tier. Yamal, that's, like, even younger. So then you have Desiree, right? You have all these players on PSG that are very young. Like, you're talking 17 to 23 playing in these matches. So that's not a bad take. I actually don't agree with that. I don't disagree with that. I don't think that I don't think that Man City is going to get back to the way they were. I don't see any Premier League team really being better than probably if these 3 teams can keep their core squads and stay healthy. I don't really see it. The only team that could sneaky be in here at some point is maybe Atletico Madrid. But then you look at the Champions League, I feel like Atletico Madrid, they just can't get over that next step. They just can't. But they do have some great players. Just how long are you going to have Griezmann, right? Because he's kind of starting to go to the end. So that's the other question mark. The top comment is very reactionary, considering no one would even thought of saying this last season. The other comment is saying, so Real is winning 7 straight because Barca's not winning shit. Okay. Okay. JT has a statement that he says moments are greater than stats. He says this season has shown more than ever football will always be a moments game. To truly be considered the best, you have to create iconic moments on the biggest stage. Salah. He's not wrong, man. He's not wrong. And this is why last year a lot of people had the Vinny stock to the moon, because Vinny was cooking in the huge knockout matches. Vinny was playing very well, producing, Champions League final. This is what people get remembered as. People don't get remembered for all the goals that they scored against Southampton, right? They get remembered for that knockout performance. Who's coming to play? Who's going to be there in the big match, bro? So this is not a bad take. I mean, this is something that maybe JT has just come to start seeing. Like, you know, he's like, okay, I got it now, but I agree with that. That's very valid. Okay, not to continue to overrate Barca, because you guys are probably getting mad at how much I'm glazing this team, and this guy does have FCB in his ad, so maybe potentially a bias, or maybe he's a Bayern fan, but I think he's probably a Barca fan. He says Balde is currently the best left back in the world. People are going to argue with Nuno Mendes after only watching 2 games from him. DeMarco's another shout, but I believe most teams would have rather had Balde than DeMarco. Okay, for me though, right, for me, this guy has the top 3 right now, so that's all that matters. Whatever you want to rank these guys, they're all playing amazing. They're all 3 of them are very good, and this is probably the top 3 for me as well right now. I mean, I've watched a couple of the recent games of Barca, man. That Balde is moving crazy, like crazy. The dribbling he's able to do out wide is nuts. So I'm not super against this, man. And there's a reason Barca's cooking so much too, right? Because they got the fullbacks cooking again too. This guy says Kvaratskhelia will be a Ballon d'Or winner in the future. Okay, so Kvaratskhelia, okay, this is the problem that he's going to run into, and it's the same issue that Salah has, right? He's going to have to produce a perfect season in a non-important international trophy year, and that makes it very tough to win this award. That's why, me personally, I think Haaland will never win this award. He probably had the peak of his season where he broke all those records. I don't know if he's ever going to break that season again. He didn't win the Ballon d'Or that season, right? So it just makes it really hard where, yes, if you take this statement at face value from watching this guy play football, he's an artist. He's brilliant. A lot of this award, it's just overhyped because there's so much that goes into it that certain players can't control. You know, if this guy, Kvaratskhelia, will be playing for, like, let's say Spain, I'd be like, okay, it's very possible. But the fact of the matter is, it's going to be very hard for him to win. It would have to be a PSG campaign where they win. He's a huge part of it. You know, and even then, is it one of those where, if Dembele outshadows him stat-wise, a lot of that award factors those things in. So it's a tough statement. I'm not going to agree with that one. I don't think he's going to win the Ballon d'Or. All right, I've had to redo this one like 3 times, guys. I'm going to be dead ass because I keep saying what I don't want to say. This take is tough because it's going to make people mad. This conversation is always going to be this conversation. This guy says Ronaldo is closer to Neymar than he is to Messi. I just flat out disagree with this one. I think Ronaldo's consistency is very disrespected, and this is somebody that thinks Messi is better all time than Ronaldo. I wouldn't say that. The problem for me with Neymar is the injuries. Now, I think you can make the argument with Neymar that he's the guy that never really shone through that should have. I really do agree with that. I think he's probably, you can make the argument, at moments in his career, has been one of the most, if not the most talented footballer we've really ever seen, up there with the Maradonas, the Messis, the Ronaldos, that level, right? I hear that take, but for me personally, what Ronaldo's been able to do for 2 decades has been insane, and he's still doing it. We may not have seen the end of him. Who knows, bro? But for the fact of him to do this at this age, continue to do it, I don't care where it is. It's very impressive to me. His determination, the mentality is different, man. The way he's been able to keep himself healthy is similar to what LeBron is doing, and I'm an MJ over LeBron guy, but I think this one, I don't agree with this one. Okay, so this take, Mbappe reminds, what? Mbappe, I don't know. Maybe it's just saying Mbappe is the best youngster in football history unless Yamal wins the World Cup at 18 like Mbappe did. So this guy's take is basically, if you put, at that age, who's the most accomplished, who did the craziest stuff at that age and was a huge part of it. Now, what he's saying for that, because I know people could be like, well, Messi and Ronaldo, they're the best, they're the GOATs. He's saying at that age, in that 17, 18, 19, to be able to accomplish what they accomplished. Look, I will tell you this, though. We are lucky as football viewers that we will potentially be able to see the chance of this happening, because let me tell you this. What I saw from Mbappe at the World Cup, I will be honest, guys, at the age he was, I've never seen something like that, what he was doing at that age. Like, it's almost like from that time to now where he is, he really hasn't got that much, man. There's not been too many trophies that really had happened. There's been a World Cup final. I think he just personally was at PSG too long, and so now he's going to have to make up time. Yamal has the real chance here, guys, if he could stay healthy and continue to be focused, determined, motivated, doesn't peak too early. Look, for me, Barcelona's playing for a Champions League this season. That's something Mbappe doesn't even have. And Mbappe is probably a decade older than him. So if Yamal is able to this season, I mean, can you imagine if Barca wins the Champions League? Obviously, he's a huge part of it. Huge part of Spain. I mean, dude, we might be watching in front of us and we just don't even realize what's happening. You think of just talent? We'll see. But I think this is there. I think this is there to be talked about. I think there's a take for both sides. And I guess we're only going to know in the future what happens. Okay, Xerxes has gone from the Prem's flop of the season to one of the better signings this season under Amram. I wouldn't say the better ones, but I would say, look, the fact of the matter is, Xerxes, what what he was doing in City A last season was very good. The thing with United, man, is that they need to support their players, bro. They need to get a couple wins, which they're starting to do, and they need to get behind the team because confidence is key. We got to see these guys be more confident. It was good to see Højlund get a goal. We got to continue to watch these guys and see what they do in the future. Salah is carrying Liverpool's attack. If it wasn't him, they would have struggled to get top 4. This is factos. Guys, I'll be honest, like watching Liverpool in the last 10 games, what they're getting out of their attack is disgraceful. What their strikers are doing, you know, yes, Darwin comes in and wins them a game, but generally, how much Diaz has really just regressed as the season has gone. They're not getting nearly enough out of that attack. So a part of the Salah hate is not even, you know, I think fully warranted for what he's personally dealing with at that club. He's got nothing up top. It's brutal. I 100% agree with this take. I think it's a good take. The MLS will become a top 5 league in 5 years. All right, guys, we're going to end the video here.